Good job. Hi everyone, Todd from Blue Line Outdoors. I'm going to do a short video here today. Just kind of talk about how I rig for plug fishing for steelhead in Michigan. We're having some weird weather right now in December, which is good and bad because it's really warm right now, and which is excellent for our winter steelhead fishing. However, we had several pretty good rain events, and now the river's super high, and I should be out fishing on the river today, but I checked the flow gauge on the river that I fish in this area, a couple of them actually, and it's pushing pretty good, and I can't control my boat really well. I could fish it, but I can't control it really well with my anchor. And I need that precision when I'm plug fishing to slide on down through the runs, and I can't get that with that type of flow. But on the flip side of that, the good news is that definitely should have trickled in some more fish and caused some fish from the lower ends of the river to move up. So kind of shuffled the deck a little bit, and there should be some more fish to chase after as soon as the water stabilizes in a few days, and hopefully the weather holds out so we can get back on the river. But anyway, I just want to touch a little bit about plug fishing for steelhead. It's one of my favorite ways to catch steelhead in the winter. I fish steelhead all different methods. I use spey rods, swinging flies, center pin rods. I float fish for them with beads, spawn, strip streamers, you name it. I like to catch steelhead, period. But one of my favorite ways to catch them is on a plug rod, and the reason being, I just love the strike. When they hit the plug rod, when they hit a plug, steelhead, as you guys know, they just totally smash it. And I just love seeing the strike when that rod doubled over. And it's just a really effective way to fish them in the winter time because you can keep your hands warm, you can have a heater going in the boat, you can talk, you can look around, enjoy the scenery, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, it's kind of a lost art because in this area, a lot of guys used to do it, and then with the popularity of center pins and so forth, it's kind of lost a little bit of its following. But there's some guys out there that still do it and are really good at it, and a lot better than I am. And a lot of it boils down to boat control and positioning the lures to get the lures in the face of the fish. When you're plug fishing, you're actually getting a territorial strike, an instinctive strike. They don't necessarily have to be feeding. You put that lure in front of the fish's face, or push them back a little bit, they're going to hit it usually, no matter what the water temperature is, what their mood is. It's a really dynamite way to catch steelhead. Anyway, but what I wanted to talk about briefly here today is the leader setup for plug fishing. This is one of my plug rods. This is a 9-foot Daiwa Acculite. I like the action on it. It's a medium action. It's really got a soft action, so it absorbs a strike, a violent strike. I don't use braid when I plug fish. Two reasons. One is that I mainly plug fish in the wintertime and braid freezes. And mono has stretch, and like I alluded to earlier, when a steelhead strikes a plug, it's quite violent. I want that stretch, a little bit of stretch in my line. Otherwise, if you have no stretch, a lot of times they'll actually bend the hooks out. You'll get a strike, you'll see the fish cartwheel, and then they're gone. Some guys do really well with braid, but I catch more fish with mono, so that's just me. That's what I like to use, mono. And I like to use a high visibility mono. This is Suffix, so this is an orange tangerine. That way I can see where my lines are in the water and positioned in the run. When I put that wall of plugs out there, I can see what my lures are doing in the water, where they're at. And that's the reason for the high vis. And then I run, this is the business end, of course I run a plug. This is a Brad's Wiggler. Probably the most popular color in the Great Lakes is this color right here, golden orange. It's probably caught more steelhead than you can imagine. Anyway, always have a snap swivel on there because that gives your plug a lot more wild action. They like the side-to-side action, and you get better tuning and response out of your lure with a snap swivel, with a snap on there. It's not, I don't have a snap swivel, I just have a snap. This leader here, this is 12-pound. I use 12-pound Maxima. It's been my favorite. I've tried various brands and so forth, and recently I was using fluorocarbon. I won't mention the name of the brand, but I've had 4 fish break off in one day on it, and I was really kind of surprised. Once again, fluorocarbon doesn't have has as much stretch as mono. There's hardly any stretch, and that might have been part of my problem I was having. I wasn't having any abrasion issues, but it was just it was snapping when they were striking it. So I kind of switched. I love fluorocarbon, don't get me wrong. I use fluorocarbon when I float fish, but once again, when I'm going back to my plug fishing setup, I like a little bit of stretch in the line. I think you land more fish and don't get broke off. So I like that Maxima leader line. This is 12-pound test. I don't go really heavy on my plugs because I like to get more action on my plugs using lighter line, but I don't go any lighter than 12. I use 12-pound for the most part. This is the Maxima green. Well, it's kind of clear, but it's supposed to, a smoky green, and I don't think it really matters. You know, obviously fluorocarbon's good for float fishing. You know, when you're imitating or floating an egg or something natural. But I believe in this type of fishing, you're getting that instinctive strike, and I don't think it matters so much if your leader's clear or not. Just like swinging flies for steelhead spay fishing, you can use really heavy line, 14, 15-pound tests, because they're just smacking out of instinct. So I run about 2 foot, 3 foot of that Maximum to my suffix, which is this. The suffix is 12-pound. I connect it with a micro swivel. I don't know what size that is, but just a swivel. And this is the main thing I wanted to talk about today with the leader that a lot of guys that are just getting into plug fishing don't know. I learned this from a river guide years ago, this little technique. You know, when you're plug fishing, one of the most things you come up against is the debris in the water. Leaves, a lot of leaves. The weeds start dying off. They open floodgates on a hydro dam, and all the debris comes down the river too. So you get the debris on your line, it goes down your line, it hits your plug, and the next thing you know, your plug's not working. You always want to make sure your rod tips are bouncing when you're plug fishing, knowing that lure is working. But when you get some debris on there, obviously the lure quits working. It'll float, it'll either spin up or just it's not working. So to minimize that, I mean, you can't totally eliminate it, but minimize that. Some guys put a bead. They'll put a bead right here above their micro swivel, and the main reason they put the bead is when they're fighting the fish, they don't reel the swivel up into the tip of their rod and break it. I've done that, and it works really good. But I put a rubber band on here. You can see this is a piece of a rubber band. I just take a regular rubber band. I have a bag of them I keep in the boat. Take a pair of little scissors, cut it, and you got the one piece right here like this. You just tie it above the swivel, just a overhand knot, just like that. there, and you got these two tag ends that hang off the side. You can trim it whatever size you want. Obviously, see I have this one pretty short. I don't like to go too long, but I usually snip it like this. And then here you have a tag of the rubber band here. And the reason I do this is leaves and stuff and the debris get on your line, they'll come down, they'll get hung up on this, and your lures are down here. Hopefully it blocked it from hitting your lure, and your lure's still working away and you can catch a fish. Also, when you're fighting the fish, you can see where your swivel is when you're getting close to net it. And if you get someone that gets a little over exuberant or excited and they reel the swivel up towards the tip, this rubber band is going to act like a cushion when it hits the tip, versus a hard bead on there. Hard bead can do some damage too, but that's why I like the rubber band. I do both. I sometimes have a bead and a rubber band on there. I will tell you this, I was short on beads one day, or I had my regular fishing beads. I put a chartreuse bead on there. It was like 10 millimeter bead, and I was getting strikes on my, thought I was getting strikes on my plug. The short strikes, you know, the rod would slam forward, you'd grab it and you feel nothing, there's no fish. And what I believe is they were hitting the bead that I had up here. So it probably would have been better if I had a clear bead or a black bead on there, but the idea is that the chartreuse bead is where I could see the swivel when I was fighting the fish. But it was just something to think about. Maybe put a hook there. Yeah, the hook would catch the debris as well, maybe too much, but you might get a fish. That's something to experiment with, I suppose. But anyway, that's basically how I keep the debris from fouling my plugs. That's basically what I wanted to do this video about. Just a short little tip here about keeping the debris off your plug while you're plug fishing for steelhead. We'll get on the river in a few days and put this in action and hopefully bring you guys some more videos. Thanks for watching.